Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video what we're going to talk about is a chancer, really, named Jared Chance. He was up to some devilment, the true extent of which is, We're heading off to Michigan, and Michigan, you know, we've ventured off to a couple of times before, but believe me, this can bat with the best, or rather, I suppose, worst of them. See, Jared Chance was friends with Ashley Young, and when something happened, he made it a family affair. Yeah, let's get into it. This story occurred in 2018, but it really began all the way back in 1987 with the birth of Ashley Regina Marie Young. Ashley was born to Christine Young. Ashley's dad was a fellow named Ambrose. It seems he separated from Christine when Ashley was young, but Ashley was happy out staying with and being raised by Christine. They didn't need much else. They had a tight relationship, best buds, and Ashley grew into an enchanting personality herself. She was bubbly, smiley. Her favorite saying was, "If I bought you a smile, would you wear it?" That depends. But she wanted to help people, you know, she believed in the good in them. She worked at a bank in Kalamazoo, which is fun to say. Kalamazoo is a city in Michigan of about 75,000 people. So Ashley Young, happy out, lovely woman, loved helping people. There's someone she shouldn't have though, as you'll see. See, this friend, well, Ashley actually hadn't spoken to him in a couple of years, since 2011, when this guy broke into her place, stole, and then sold all her shit. So she was, you know, piss off. That was until 2017 came along when they, you know, made up. Ashley was loyal, and when she saw someone in need, she would help. It was her nature. She shouldn't have. Did I say that already? That friend's name was Jared Chance. It's in the title. Now, a bit of a backstory about the Chances, so buckle up. So Jared Chance, born in 1989, was the oldest child of the Chance household. One younger brother, Conrad. They lived in Holland, Michigan, about an hour from Kalamazoo, and were well known to the Holland Police Department. What I mean by that is between 2006 and 2016, Jared, he had 38 run-ins with the police. So, off to a good start, so. Now, a lot of it was fairly basic shit, basic bitchness of criminality, you might say, you know, being drunk in public, shoplifting, that kind of shit. But it would, escalate as it usually does. By the way, Jared's dad, named James, he was a retired Illinois police officer, so, that'll come in handy later. So let me give you a quick rundown of the crimes committed by our boy Jared. 2010, arrested after breaking into an ex-girlfriend's place via the doggy door. No charges. 2011, his parents, James and Barbara, called the cops on him after he was in a drunken rage at home, wrecking the place. Police were called twice that night. The second time they arrived, Jared bait the shite out of the responding officer. As you can imagine, that went well. In 2015, drugs arrest. In 2016, Jared's younger brother Conrad called the police after Jared threatened to stick a blowtorch down his gob. We're not done, keeps going, this asshole. By the way, the fight had apparently been about Conrad stole 5 pounds of weed, devil's lettuce, from Jared. Well, you probably already guessed, Jared had the whole gamut of drugs coursing through his system this entire time. At one point in 2016, Jared was found unresponsive in the Chance back garden and had to be hospitalized after, overdosing. He waited a whole 4 days before giving it another go and was once again hospitalized. A few weeks later, 3 lads showed up and bait the shite out of Jared in the front garden with a baseball bat. What that was about, don't know, can guess. So, surprisingly, the family put up with him throughout all of this. And we'll do more later. But in 2017, Jared moved out of Holland to Grand Rapids. Decided to strike out on his own to the big city. And it's around that time that Jared and Ashley made up and rekindled their friendship. Ashley saw him as a victim of circumstance, someone who just needed help, and she'd be the one to give it to him. For example, near the end of November 2018, Jared, he'd been on the sauce, he drove his car into a ditch. First person he called, not his parents, not anybody else. First person he called was Ashley, and she didn't, hesitate. Answered the phone immediately, was out the door to get him. So all that takes us up to about Wednesday, the 28th of November 2018. So, what happened that day? Let me tell you. Ashley, she drove from good old Kalamazoo to Jared's place in Grand Rapids. He lived alone in the upper floor apartment of a 2-story house. When Ashley arrived, she was greeted by Mario, the downstairs neighbour. Then the three of them went up to Jared's, smoked a bit, though Ashley, she didn't partake. Then, Ashley and Jared decided to head out for a few scoops that night. Heading to a hookah lounge, then Mulligan's Irish pub, and then back to the hookah lounge. Ashley was spotted on CCTV at a liquor store 3 minutes from Jared's place at 1:30 in the AM on the 29th of November. That very same day, Ashley was reported missing. What? Now remember, Ashley was very close with her mother, Christine, and when Christine couldn't contact Ashley on the 29th, that's when she began to worry. See, Ashley was due to move into a new place, and it was Christine's name on the lease, so they had agreed to meet up that day on the 29th, to sign the documents, essentially. Christine couldn't get a hold of her. Ashley was always on her phone, so it's not like her to miss and not answer repeated phone calls. And so, not only that, right, Christine knew Ashley had gone to meet Jared. Christine was a little more cynical, and rightly so, about Jared. She knew full well about his history and wasn't peachy keen, wasn't too chuffed that Ashley had rekindled her friendship with him. She knew Ashley was naive, and she knew Jared could be dangerous.
Hello, Jared. My name is Christine Young. I'm looking for my daughter. She was last with you. Is she with you? She needs to contact me. Tell her that I'm going to contact the police department to do a missing person.
Christine then contacted Jared, who told her, yeah, she was here last night. We had a grand old time. But last night she forgot her mobile phone in one of the bars we were in, so today she's gone off to collect it, and then she said she was driving straight back to Kalamazoo. That's all I can tell you. Well, Christine, she wasn't taking. That's all I can tell you, or that's all he could tell her. Eventually, Jared passed the buck. He gave her the number of a friend of his, a friend named Demetrius Taylor. Jared was like, yeah, I think she actually went to meet this guy. I don't know. Why don't you contact him? At the same time, Jared was messaging Demetrius, telling him, Christine's going to contact you. Tell her that Ashley was with you. At some point, sound. The texts to Demetrius from Jared go a little something like this. Yo! Tell her you stay in Kalamazoo too. Answer your damn phone, foo, and tell her she just left. Now, Demetrius, when Christine contacted him, he didn't do what Jared told him to do. He told her he didn't know who Ashley was at all. He'd never met her. Christine, upon hearing this, threatened to call the cops on him. But Demetrius stuck to his guns, because he was telling the truth. He had never met Ashley and refused to cover for Jared. Ashley, was reported missing. They didn't know where she was. Jared was trying to kind of play puppet master here. Too bad he was too much of a dumb shit for it to work. Because in the meantime, Mario, Jared's downstairs neighbour and Mario's girlfriend, started to notice a foul smell around the house. Mario then decided to, check the basement, maybe broken pipe, whatever. He ventured down and discovered a black tarp where the smell was strong as shit and the tarp was covered in blood. He called 911 right away.
She she's not missing. Let's just be clear about that.
That's what the lady said.
Yes, I know. It sounds like there's a lot of drama going on, so we don't want to jump to any conclusions. We just want to make sure it's...
But maybe it's a deer. Right. That you can talk to.
Yes. Yes, there's... Yeah, the mom is looking for her because she is willingly hanging out. She shouldn't be hanging out with. And so... Okay. Okay. Where are we going? Oh. Shared basement? Alright. I can see some skin in there, so let's back everybody back out.
The police, upon arrival, they found in the basement .22 cartridges, blood, saw blades, and under the tarp, a woman's torso. And who did Mario tell the police had a 22 gun? Jared did. He would also say that Ashley's car, which had been parked out front, was now gone.
Police on the search warrant! Come to the door! We're gonna...
Okay, the tarp is laying on the stairs, about the last 3 stairs.
Come on down. Hands on top of your head. We're gonna call him right into that kitchen. Right? You want me to... Hands on your head! What's your name? What's your last name? You're Chance? He's not been searched.
He is not?
No.
Okay. Putting the seatbelt on, you alright?
You put the seatbelt on when you get back there, that's fine.
Alright.
No, I got S1.
Jared Chance was arrested on the 2nd of December. But before he was, he'd spent some time with his family. And this is where the story changes from what it is to something a bit more, nefarious. Nefarious if that's possible. It's already pretty bad. The day before, a torso was found in the basement. That was found on the 2nd of December. And while the search was still on for Ashley Young, she'd been missing for 2 days now on the 1st of December, the Chance family, that's James, Barbara and Conrad, made a little road trip to Grand Rapids to visit Jared. They picked him up and some things were moved from Jared's apartment to the Chance family Honda. They then drove to where Ashley's car was parked away from Jared's home and picked up a few more things. They then drove back to Holland, Michigan. There, Jared's stuff was unloaded from the car. Then, the next day, the 2nd of December, when the torso would be found, James took Jared back to Grand Rapids and to the police headquarters, saying to the desk they maybe have information about missing Ashley Young. Now apparently, the officer at the desk told James and Jared to take that information back to Kalamazoo, where Ashley lived, and she'd been reported missing by her mother there. However, the police would contradict this and say they did want to speak with them, but that James demanded an attorney before they were questioned, and so, they couldn't talk to them. And remember, James was a former police officer, so whatever really happened, this would be his area of expertise. Regardless, James dropped Jared off back home, and he would then be arrested that night while sleeping.
You need to take just for a sec? We'll get your cuffs off, okay? Alright.
Want me to take them off, the cuffs? Or?
Yeah. You gonna be decent with us?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Hold on. Hey, Erica.
You gotta stay busy, don't you?
Huh?
You gotta stay busy, don't you?
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Hi, Jared. We appreciate the fact that you came in earlier, and I'm sorry you got turned away.
Yeah, no, I just came in just because I read on Facebook that the last person this person was with was me, so I was just concerned and trying to get some information about it, but my dad just recommended me to just ask for the advice of attorney, and because I don't really know what the hell's going on, so I don't want to like sit here and talk about shit that may incriminate me or whatever in any kind of way, because I don't know what's going on. So I just don't want to say nothing right now.
He was charged with mutilation of a dead body and concealing a death. Not murder. Yet. About a month later, he would be.
James Chance, is that you, sir?
Yeah, sir.
It is alleged as follows.
So yeah, seems that there's, more to this whole thing than meets the eye, the extent of which is still somewhat a mystery. But I mean, it's a bit like, come on now. How involved Jared's parents were in what happened, we can only guess. But as I said, James, retired police officer. So, the police then searched Jared's apartment, and guess what? They found quite a bit more. Women's clothing, a hoodie with blood, and inside a cardboard box, they found 2 legs without feet, and 2 arms minus the hands. They would belong to Ashley Young. The Chance home in Holland was also searched. Inside, they found a bloody shower curtain. Ashley's blood was found inside their car, the Honda, and under the living room couch was a saw with Ashley's tissue on it. Were they surprised by the police? Were just like, oh Jesus, get rid of it. Why would you hide that? A week later, when the DNA tests came back, revealing, what they had already suspected, that it was Ashley's tissue and blood, James and Barbara Chance were, also arrested and charged with perjury and accessory after the fact. So, what it appears happened is that night after Jared and Ashley, went out on the town, he killed her, cut her up, and then asked his parents for help. And they obliged. So one thing is that we don't actually know how Ashley died. I mean, there was, cartridges found in the basement, so bit of a giveaway, but her head has never been found. And it would never be found. Her body would never be whole. What else wouldn't be found was a motive.
We've been hearing a lot about you. We've been hearing a lot about what happened to Ashley. And I just wanted to hear from you, give you a chance.
All right. I really can't say much, but I don't even really know what to say.
Well, what happened to Ashley Young?
I can't even talk about it.
You can't talk about it because you're so emotional, or?
I just can't, well, that too, but, yeah, I don't know.
Her daughter is gone. Can you just give her some kind of peace and just tell her where she is?
I'd love to give her some kind of peace, I really would. I don't know what to do here. This situation is, I don't know what to do, so I can't do this. I'm sorry, I can't do this. I'm sorry, Ashley's mom. I apologize, I can't do this right now.
Do you have anything else to say to Ashley's mom?
In September 2019, Jared Chance was offered a deal. Make a full confession and reveal where her missing remains were. Also plead guilty to second-degree murder, tampering with evidence and mutilation of a dead body, and concealing a death. In exchange, minimum of 31 years. Jared said, he said no. He wouldn't do it, the bollocks.
Tonight, a jury has been selected in the trial of Jared Chance, the accused man of the murder and mutilation of Ashley Young. It is a trial that this morning was not going to happen because Chance was expected to take a plea deal that had been offered. News 8's Barton Dieter is here now with what happened in court and what happens next. Barton.
Well, Brian, it was by most accounts a pretty good deal that would give this defendant a much shorter minimum sentence than he faces if convicted now, and would have saved the family of Ashley Young the trauma of a trial. Instead, the 30-year-old will take his chance with a jury.
If you are not guilty, it's real simple. You should simply go to trial.
He went on trial in September 2019. It was pretty apparent what he had done. I don't know why he wanted a trial, maybe just to put people and Christine through more pain.
Once I come back up to the stairs, there's a tarp laying there, and it's like just a stream of blood out of it.
In the end, he was found guilty of all charges. That's guilty of second-degree murder, dismemberment, concealment of death, and 3 charges of tampering with evidence.
This was an extremely disturbing set of facts and circumstances where you killed and dismembered this young lady, Ashley Young. Only her torso was found in the basement. The police, although they did an excellent job in this matter, working every possible lead, could never find Ashley's head, her hands, or her feet. You, sir, in my mind, are a very evil individual. You are clearly a monster without any conscience whatsoever, and you are someone who is a danger to society and should never be allowed free.
He was sentenced to a minimum of 100 years to a maximum 200 years in prison. He won't be eligible for parole until he's 130 years old, so better get comfortable there, Jared. Put the kettle on. Ashley's mother, Christine, really did not hold back when she got the chance, to address Chance.
Now, I cry 7 days a week! 7! My mind never stops! Never! When I was 18, I was told I would never have children by a doctor. I thank God He gave me the gift of Ashley. Even though it was for a very short period of time, God gave me that gift. You had no right to take her from me, to take her from her family. Jared Chance, I hate you. I want to rip you limb from limb.
But we're not done yet, because James and Barbara would also go on trial.
Are you James Howard Chance? Yes, I am. All right, so you were here today for probable cause conference.
They were charged with perjury and being accessories in their son's crime. The accessory charge is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Perjury, a potential life offense, so, things weren't looking good. Especially as they were elderly. Jared's younger brother, Conrad, told the story of what happened.
What was your brother's demeanor when he told you that he had shot Ashley?
He was extremely upset, and most upset I was,
Conrad Chance told the jury, considering his father's guilt or innocence, about what happened in the family's Holland home on December 2nd. That's several days after Jared Chance had killed and dismembered 31-year-old Ashley Young at his apartment in Grand Rapids. Police believe Ashley Young was killed on November 28, 2018. And in the first days of December, the family drove up from their home in Holland to pick Jared up in Grand Rapids. Police say at the Franklin Street apartment, they loaded up the family's Honda CR-V.
What did you move?
A cardboard box with a black bag in it.
That was the box that police say contained the limbs of Ashley Young.
That Jared, he told the parents, he told the family he had murdered Ashley, he had cut her up. And so she was put in a cardboard box, brought to Holland, and part of her was burned in a fire pit. James and Barbara both pled not guilty, but don't know about that one now. In fact, Christine, who has still desperately been trying to find the rest of her daughter, well, they probably know where. Maybe.
Because I want to bring my daughter home. They know, the parents know something. There are people out there that know something.
And so, for all this helping conceal a horrific murder, James Chance was found guilty of accessory after the fact, but he was acquitted of one count of perjury. The jury was unable to reach a verdict on the second perjury count, resulting in a mistrial on that one. Barbara Chance pleaded no consent to perjury and to being an accessory after the crime. Barbara was imprisoned for a whopping 45 whole days. James got a crazy 30 days. That's 30 days and nights behind bars.
I look at Mr. Chance, a police officer, sergeant. You should be ashamed of yourself for holding that badge. How you can live with yourself. You are so phony. You should be in Hollywood acting. That's where you should be.
I grieve deeply for Ashley and her parents and everyone concerned.
I'm just so sorry everything happened, and I wish if I could change it, I would. I would do anything to undo what's been done. Very sorry.
They also both have a year-long probation period, so whoa, that'll teach them. And that's it. That's the story. A motive? We don't know. A bartender, who saw them that night, he said they seemed fine. They were yapping away. So why did Jared do this? Remains unknown. He had his troubles, quite a few, so maybe it's not too surprising where it would eventually lead to. But you can ask him yourself if you feel so inclined. Oof, yikes, big number. That's gotta hurt. I feel very sorry for Christine, but at least she got a good bollocking in there. And his parents, who put up with him for so long, put up with even more by helping him dispose of evidence. Why? Especially when James tried to take Jared to the police. Although I don't think he was taking him there to get Jared to confess. Although he would say, yeah, it was, come on now. Of course I was. Do I feel sorry for them? Fuck no. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Sure, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next one. Till then, take care of yourselves. Mike out.